This video is brought to you by a patron who wants to stay anonymous who asked me to make a video in asking the question, why are anime characters white? Well, they aren't. They're Asians who have lighter skin. I mean, have you seen Japanese people? They're fairly light skin. Of course, they're going to draw them mostly light skin as well, unless their skins are supposed to be darker, like Kasuka from Berserk, or Choi from Tamako Market, or Ikumi from Food Wars. What do you expect, Japanese people to be brown or yellow because they're Asian? Isn't that kind of stereotypical? Yes, a lot of anime characters are light skinned. So, are you trying to imply that anime is racist or Japan is racist? I don't know what you're getting at there, mate. Are you trying to imply that Japanese people are racist for it? Of course, I'm not directing this question into you, my patron. I'm directing this to the people who always ask these questions. So I asked the question to my followers on Twitter, and most of them stormed in with exactly my first answer. My favorite answer is because Japanese people think that white is the superior race. Don't believe me? Why did you think they ally with Nazi Germany? But seriously, the reason why I want to ask that question is because there are so many people who come into the conclusion that Japanese animation industry with the whitewashing of anime characters mean that there's some form of an internalized racism inside Japan. However, there is no internalized racism when European characters are being yellow-washed. Why? Because we hate white people, that's why. And since Japanese anime are populated by Japanese people, aka white people, that gives us the justification to call them racist with no reasonable basis at all. And that brings us to our next question. How the hell do you judge racism? No, seriously, it seems like a lot of these people who are throwing various isms here and there are judging things to be ist even though they are not really ist. Case in point,
Donald Trump Jr., for example, he put this image on his Instagram account. It's a meme of Pepe. And for those of you who don't know, Pepe is a white nationalist symbol. White nationalist symbol. White nationalist symbol.
Now about the question, why are anime characters white, there are more explanations than just Japanese people being mostly light skin. A lot of the times, anime comes from manga, and manga is black and white. So the characters who are drawn in manga are fairly light skinned because that's just the default color, and it saves a lot of time. That is unless the characters are supposed to be dark skinned, like Killer Bee. Oh no, white is the default color. That is racist.
Think of a big black man chasing you!
But if an animation studio in Africa make black people as their default color, that's perfectly fine.
Well, he's not racist.
Anyway, I initially want to just respond to my fellow patron who requested this by directing him into a video made by Dino about the exact same topic, which managed to at least answer some points. One of them is how the art style that anime has is an abstraction of what exists in the real world, not necessarily supposed to represent the entire thing accurately. One of the interesting arguments being raised is that just because the Simpsons are yellow skin doesn't mean they're automatically Asians. It's just fantasy, it's just how they draw fiction. Again, my question is, how do you judge racism? Can you make the conclusion that Japanese people are racist because most anime characters are white skin? Let's level our definition of racism here. I think people confuse personal preferences with absolute hatred. I would consider someone racist if they really hate people based on their skin color. However, if they make video games, for example, in which most of the characters happen to be white, does that mean they hate black people? How can you come into that conclusion? For the record, I am brown and I really want to make my own animated series. I want all the respective characters in there to be white because the story takes place in the Western world. Oh no, we need diversity there! No, screw you. Let me make my own story with my own characters. Now the reason why I cited that video is because some of the comments responding to this are quite interesting. They're so interesting they give it a good framework for this conversation. The comments do bring up lots and lots of great points, which we're going to answer today. None of the abstraction of human characters in anime really explains why, if they like to diversify their characters so much that there are so few people of other races and ethnic groups, or at least share characteristics of non-European people, even if still presented as Japanese. That's because a lot of Japanese anime are from Japan, and they consist of mostly Japanese characters with Japanese culture, because those are the things that they're most familiar with. If you're going to make an animation studio in Africa, for example, obviously they're going to make animation about African people with their culture, because that's what they're most familiar with. Obviously, there are anime with characters that are not Japanese, like 91 Days, Bacano, Black Butler, Black Lagoon, Fullmetal Alchemist. Even Attack on Titan characters are mostly German. Or what about Ergo Proxy, Afro Samurai, Kekai Sensen, Cowboy Bebop, Monster? A lot of these depictions of foreign cultures or backgrounds or foreigners are not necessarily supposed to be accurate, and does it really matter anyway when the anime is good? So a blue-eyed, blonde-haired Aryan can be Japanese, but a brown-skinned, dark-eyed Nubian cannot? Or any number of combinations of features the human race is capable of? The whole colorblind explanation just doesn't fly with me. Actually, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person can be Japanese. It would be rare, but it's possible. Ann Takamaki from Persona was a quarter white. Her characteristics are near impossible to create as far as I know in real life, but a 0.0% chance is still a chance. A brown-skinned, dark-eyed Nubian can also be Japanese, as far as I know. Choi from Tamako Market, while not exactly Nubian, is brown-skinned and dark-eyed. That's because Asians also have its shares of brown-skinned, dark-eyed people. Yes, they have both light-skinned people and dark-skinned people. We are pretty diverse that way. Also, Yoroichi from Bleach, Miyuki from Bash Squash, Yumiko from New Game, Homura from Senran Kagura, and Shelly from Pokemon Obiga. But still, I want to preface that for all of those people fighting stereotypes, blonde-haired, blue eyes being a foreigner is actually a stereotype in and of itself. So if you're going to complain about anime characters having blonde hair, blue eyes being white, you should check your stereotype before you complain that people are stereotyping others. The Japanese do see race, guys, and many are racist. I love the Mad Yukiko clips. Seriously, on what basis do you think Japan is racist for? Their freaking animations? The creator of Cowboy Bebop received accolades and awards because he included 13 different ethnic groups of people in his anime, including Nubian people, Hispanics, Native Americans, Asians, and Caucasians. And not because of the great characters, great writing, one of the most influential anime to have ever spawned. Nah, it's the diversity. In short, he didn't whitewash it the same way hundreds of other anime producers do. Well, if these hundreds and hundreds of anime did whitewash characters, then Dutch from Black Lagoon wouldn't be black, or Afro Samurai wouldn't be black, or these characters wouldn't be dark-skinned. Also, another example is in Naruto, where the author made the conscious decision of making the Cloud Ninja predominantly darker skin and Afrocentric featured, when compared to the other ninja who look European and Asian, lighter Asians mostly, seeing as not all Asians are fair-skinned. As far as I know, Kumogakure was introduced in Shippuden, years after the original Naruto, which was very successful, and the kickstart for Shippuden. So I call bullshit on your explanation. Not entirely so, but partially. At least when it comes to the claim that Japanese are colorblind. They are not! Well, of course they're not. Characters that I've mentioned previously have dark skin. Thanks for my Twitter followers for their contributions, by the way. Fair-skinned and features are looked upon more positively by Japanese people and other Asians. It is not a secret and has a history to it. As an Asian, I can definitely confirm this. A lot of beauty products in Asia always advertise their products so that they have brighter or whiter skin. That's because even in Asia, people prefer to have a lighter skin tone than darker skin tone. My sister is obsessed in having a lighter skin tone for some reason. She's so obsessed she would measure her own skin lightness with mine. However, wanting to have a lighter skin tone does not mean she hates people who are in another race or a different skin tone. All she wants is to look prettier. Can she be pretty with a darker skin? Sure. Which begs the question, why is she obsessed with that in the first place? That is something that only brown-skinned Asian girls can understand. But again, just because we personally think lighter skins are prettier does not mean that we hate black people. It also doesn't mean that we hate people who are in darker skin. For goodness sake, have you seen the anime ladies that I've mentioned before? They're goddamn hotties regardless of their skin. Hell, some of my followers mentioned a couple that are from freaking hentais. You can still be beautiful even if you have a darker skin tone. It's just that we Asians prefer to have it lighter. We see absolutely nothing wrong with this practice, but to the lenses of some people out there, whitening your skin tone has to be the act of the freaking KKK or something. In that case, here's my facial foam. Fair skin is their ideal standards of beauty, and their culture reflects this most of the time. We can't pretend otherwise when it is right in our faces. It is an aspect of their culture that is well known. Yes, but my question is, does that mean they hate black people? If not, why should I care? But on the upside, many other anime are including characters who are different ethnic backgrounds or at the very least share those people features and they're not the bad guys. Implying that most anime bad guys are those with darker skin? Some of the previous characters' examples are not the bad guys. Even if they're the bad guys, they're still absolute freaking hotties. Was that not a compliment now? Mostly they are supporting characters, but still, it is a sign of progress. Now, of course, signs of freaking progress, because the anime industry needs some good old progressive ideology. How? How would the anime industry progress with more characters that are not white? Because you are in it? Jesus, let's get to the next comment. Do you realize how hard it is for minorities to even break in the animation industry? Define minorities. If you mean minorities, you mean people who are not in Hollywood making animation? In that case, you are correct. It is pretty difficult because you have to compete with the animation market in Hollywood, ranging from the TVs into big names like Disney. The Battle of Surabaya is our own animated feature movie that has yet to have a Hollywood release. That's because we don't have too much budget, and in order to achieve that, we Indonesians know that something like that can and should be earned by sweat and blood. And the Raid movies have proven that we can be successful with lots of sweat and blood. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I'll probably going to open my own animation studio, especially after Marvel decided to monitor your fucking tweets before they even hire you. $2,000 per month my Patreon, and this channel will turn into its own animation production company. We're gonna make some anime openings, hire music producers and various artists to draw the frames. All episodes will be released for free for everybody on YouTube. It will be freaking awesome. No, I'm not kidding on that one. I'm dead serious. Let's make this happen, guys. The fact that good education animation in America is nearly as expensive as becoming a doctor, or free along with massive amounts of self-discipline and enough time for your hands to actually improve, creates a huge barrier for people who are already disadvantaged in the first place. What are the barriers of minorities other than those you mentioned? Are you saying that if you're black, you're unable to grab a pencil and a paper and draw things? I know that the black community are generally poor in America, but I'm sure they're not that poor. To top it off, out of the few minorities that are successful in the industry, their stories have to appeal to the bosses that they pitch their shows to. Well, yeah, in order to become successful in the anime market, you need to make stories that are marketable, and sometimes these bosses do what they're talking about. Sometimes they don't, which is why with the rise of other platforms like Kickstarter or Patreon and streaming services like YouTube and VidMe, which allows you to upload animations with ads, the barrier is getting less and less to make independent animations and gain profits from it. And if you're talking about animation from Japan, I'd like you to point out any anime that has been created by non-Japanese folk. Well, a much better question would be, are there any? And if there aren't, are you implying that the reason why they failed is because Japanese people are racist against non-Japanese? It's like you're saying, well, why don't you just do it yourself? And you're ignoring how hard it is to actually get there when all odds are against you. There's nothing wrong with protesting if there's an actual problem to deal with. I don't know. If you protest, it sounds more like, hey, please have me in the anime industry. I am black. Doesn't sound so convincing. Next comment. Ugh, God, it takes a long time to thoughtfully respond to a video that's mostly off in only subtle ways. I understand and agree with much of what you said, but the overall message I think we want to get across is just because something isn't motivated by explicit racism doesn't mean that it isn't possible for there to be racist implications from the work. Well then, let's get straight to the fucking point. Are Japanese people racist? And if so, how can you judge that based on the animation works they produced? I think that it is actually very much worth paying attention to the history and culture of Japan. As a country, when talking about issues of race and sex in anime, you're ignoring a lot of vital information by focusing so insularly on the animation, and that's the main source of my perceived flaws in this video. Well, my points exactly. We can't examine if Japan is racist through the animations they produce. We should examine their history and their culture. So, let's just for the sake of argument assume that Japan is historically racist. The scenario would be Japan has a racist history towards foreigners like me. Their racism still exists to this day, and they insert their racism through their animations by making all of the characters white skinned because they hate characters and people who are darker skinned. That's a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to assume that that was the case. What's next? Seriously, you proved Japan is racist. Congratulations. What's next? Fix racism, right? Well, how do you do that? Have black characters in anime? They already have darker skinned characters in anime, and I've shown examples of those. What's next on the racism mission? And it's especially concerning because throughout this time, you're coming to their face implying that they're being racist because you don't have darker skinned characters in anime. They're going to go hostile at you at any time because you're implying very offensive things at them. And for the record, I am darker skinned, and I lived in a country that has been invaded by Japan. Throughout all of these Japanese anime that I've watched, I've yet to see any forms of racism made directly straight at me or towards any sort of dark-skinned people. When Oran High School Host Club literally wear Balinese outfit, my reaction was, wow, that is awesome, instead of, oh my god, that is racist. I am seriously confused by these people. How do they judge racism? In what basis are things racist? Why are you going to slap racism everywhere when there's nothing in it? I think we need to have a conversation with these people of what is and isn't racist, because they are stretching. They are stretching them out, not only in anime, but traditional outfits as well. There's a really dumb news concerning this Western girl wearing a geisha outfit. This one person just shouts, racism, racism, this is not okay to this girl. Here's the reasoning. Their makeup is clearly reflective of the traditional geisha makeup, which is yellow face, and therefore racist. Furthermore, the girl is wearing a kimono, a garment that has for ages carried cultural significance. Assuming that she is white, how can you think this is okay? And cultural appropriation isn't a thing? What rock do you live under? I suggest you educate yourself on the differences between cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation. But then one person came in who is Japanese. The response is so freaking brutal, it is best that you read it yourself. Seriously, what is and isn't racist these days are so confusing. So right now, Japan is racist because history, and that makes anime racist because the Japanese people are racist. So how about this? Now that we know that a lot of these foreigners are accusing Japanese people of being racist, and they love to go full moral guardian at these people, I wonder what the reactions of actual Japanese people are. Well, let's just say that some of them are full-blown racism. Huge thanks to Eva Unit Mom for these wonderful comments. You are freaking amazing. First one, there's news that the Star Ocean 5's underwear changed to diapers, and the reaction of the Japanese people are absolute freaking golden. Foreigners are shit. All foreigners play is games where you slaughter people indifferently, so they've got a lot of nerve to speak out about small things like this in other countries' game. Do not consort with foreigners. Foreign teens wear sluttier underwear anyway, lol. This is the same failure as the SF5 devs. Make separate versions for Japan and the foreigners, you incompetent fucks. Fuck foreigners. Gaijin are impossible. Way to prostrate yourself to your white masters, devs. Ooh, that's not very nice. Second one, people censored Street Fighter V's costumes and the Japanese people are like, it's because even the slightest suggestion of sex makes foreigners horny, lol. Confirmed for Legbeard game. Just censor the foreign version. Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong, feminist gaijin. Oh my god, those are very racist comments. By the way, gaijin means foreigner, and depending on context, it can be used as a slur, and that is definitely a slur. And my personal favorite, there's a thread in the Futaba channel or 2chan basically talking about the censorship of Dead or Alive Extreme 3 and how Koei Tecmo doesn't want to release the game because of the feminists. The responses are freaking golden. Just release an Extreme Sumo game marketed towards women. The problem would have solved if they put male characters in it. They would have been safe if they also included depictions of old men in bikinis too. Just tell the white pigs to fuck off. Just having it in Japan is enough. Damn, Futaba, just... damn! If Koei Tecmo released it, the next thing they say is there's no blacks in it. Forget it! I lolled when the complaints turned from indecency to discrimination against women. It's whatever whenever with these people. Foreign cunts are fucking trash too. Damn! If they just put 2 or 3 beefcakes in it, it's not discrimination. The West has a huge rape problem, but they play gentlemen when speaking of foreign countries. What pisses me off is that they don't just whine about racism in their country, they call us racist too. I'm glad I was born in Japan. I can't imagine a life without Mary. We should promote this to tourists as a reason to come to Japan. The Western idea of equality is to excessively protect minorities. So what you're saying is that the feminists in the West are loudmouths? And by far, the best comment that I have ever read in a long time. Those foreign fuckers enjoy ass-to-mouth porn, but this game is too much. There, I have proven to you that Japanese people are racist. If you want to look at racism, look no further than Futaba-chan. Now that we have proven Japanese people are horrible, horrendous racists, what are we going to do now? Liberate Japanese anime and make it to be populated by black people or something? Seriously guys, I want to ask, if your mission is to prove that Japanese people are racist and you have successfully done that mission, what's next in the menu? I'm starting to think a World War III is happening. So in conclusion, I still have no idea what racism is. Huge thanks to Trevor Hansen, Commander CTC, and once again, Brian Thomas for the donations. You guys are fantastic. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you could support me on Patreon. And thanks for watching.